first of all, to the whole board, we've appreciated your support throughout. We've had a really interesting 2 or 3 years, and there's a lot of work to be done. So we're thankful for your continued governance, and we as a team are really quite appreciative of that. So thank you for that. And we do also want to thank Mr. Tia too for his contributions. No doubt. Well, we obviously we're about relationships, and we're very thankful for all of them throughout the way. And I do, and Mayor Brown, as it pertains to Islamophobia and hate crimes, I know that Deputy DePat has some comments shortly about that. I know we have a big team here, and there's a big team watching back at the office, but we also have some faces that are here with us today. And yesterday. Staff Superintendent McKenna retired, and he's just kind of on the books a little bit. But we have Acting Staff Superintendent Rob Higgs, who here today, Acting Deputy Don Orr for Nick Milinovich, and Acting Deputy Rob Shearer for Anthony O'Duarty. And I know we talked about Rob's contributions in his transition, so we again thank him for that. I do, just before I hand it over we have 3 updates from the team here. I do want to acknowledge that Deputy Chief Anthony O'Duarty, Deputy Chief Nick Milinovich, and Deputy Chief Mark Andrews received the Order of Merit of Police Forces from the Governor General last week in Ottawa at the Governor General's residence. So congratulations to them. It's a significant milestone for them. So with that, we'll begin with Mark, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Through the chair, I'd like to update the board on 2 shootings that occurred in the region in March. These 2 shootings, the first one took place in mid-March on Brickyard Way in the city of Brampton, where there were 22 shots fired into an Airbnb. The targets were 6 young men from Montreal who were inside the Airbnb. Fortunately, no one was struck. But when we attended, we subsequently were able to learn that a number of the individuals were involved in auto theft. We seized automobile key reprogrammers and numerous master keys for Dodge vehicles. 2 days later, we experienced a second shooting on Ettridge Court in Mississauga, where 20 shots were fired at 2 male individuals who were exiting their vehicle into another Airbnb. These 2 individuals were both struck, fortunately, non-fatal injuries. We, through some investigative work that was done, we were able to link the 2 shootings and analyze that the second shooting was a retaliatory shooting linked to the first one. Subsequently, we were able to identify 2 groups that were involved in organized auto theft within our region. They traveled from Montreal and were planning on stealing vehicles in the GTA. Working with our partners in TPS and Montreal, we were able to identify the 2 groups. The one group is a gang, STL gang, based out of Montreal, and the second group is the Profit Boys, also based out of Montreal. As a result of these 2 shootings in the region of Peel, there were subsequently other shootings in the city of Montreal, one of which led to a homicide. Working with our partners in Montreal, we were able to identify the 4 shooters, issue warrants for all 4 shooters. We executed a search warrant on April the 5th, arrested one of the shooters, seized a firearm, and a significant quantity of cocaine and fentanyl was seized as well. We were also able to seize a quantity of equipment utilized in making fraudulent identification. The next day, a second warrant was executed, and we were able to arrest the other 3 participants. The reason I bring this to the board is that we often have to hear the narrative that auto theft is a property crime. It is not a property crime. It funds and fuels violent organized crime groups across the country. And with our partners, we're working diligently to suppress that. Thank you.
No, thank you, Mark. And I just want to give the credit to the women and men on your teams that are doing the work. But I think to Mark's point is we've told the public that Canada is a source country for autos. Behind internationally, from a transnational organized crime standpoint, behind drugs and frauds, auto theft is the third greatest source revenue for organized crime. And what Mark has talked about is obviously the on ground tiers of it, but it's homicides, it's shootings and violent crime and firearms. So we're optimistic that the province is going to support us in some activities. We know federally we've had some dialogue on auto theft as well. So thank you, Mark, for that update. Maybe we'll just move down to Deputy DePatt, please.
Thank you, Chief. And through the chair, good morning, board members. I'm happy to provide an update through our Community Safety and Wellbeing Services and our Training Bureau that Peel Regional Police has recently been notified that we were awarded funding through the Public Safety Canada Building Organizational and Community Capacity for Countering Hate and Violent Extremism grant stream. It's certainly not lost on us, especially when Mayor Brown opened with the sentiments that incidents and crimes that are motivated by hate have a profound impact on our community. It's not just the victims, it's the vicarious trauma and fear that it creates for everyone else. And we've always taken this matter very seriously from an investigative standpoint, but also from a supporting the community standpoint. So this grant will enable Peel Regional Police and community partners to work together to co-create and co-construct a community-facing information support and training program. The project will last for 1 year, and it will be delivered through workshops and other training platforms that will include 500 participants from various community organizations, and the entire police service will also be provided with this training. All of which to say, this is a situation where we are working directly with the community to provide support and enable and strengthen the capacity in this regard.
Thank you. And we do have Acting Deputy Shearer has a positive update, and just to preface it, the board would know when we went to council for budget, one of the things we highlighted was the pressures we're seeing in our 911 communication center. Mayor, Chair, I know you get that from the community about waiting on hold. There's a whole narrative behind that, and the team has been doing a remarkable job working at that. So, Rob, can I hand it over to you, please?
Thanks, Chief. And Chair Coley, if you'll indulge me for a minute, this will be the last time that I appear before you as a police officer. So on behalf of my family, I'd like to thank this board, Chief Duriapa, and indeed, and most importantly, the community for allowing me the opportunity to flourish in this incredible profession, working alongside the women and men of Peel Regional Police. It's been an honor to wear this patch for 35 plus years, and thank you so much. So quickly on to the update, and I know, as the chief mentioned, that the board is acutely aware of the work that Deputy O'Dwyer, myself, have been doing with the communications command team to improve our internal processes and to strengthen and bolster our staffing levels. I'm very happy to say that effective last December, 21 new call takers hit the communications floor. These call takers were signed off as fully functional this week, actually, so they're ready to go. We also have completed another hiring process resulting in 21 new hires who commenced their training in the middle of April. These new hires will be fully functional by the end of August. So these hires represent a 40% increase into our staffing levels in less than 1 year, which is a remarkable accomplishment by our recruitment staff and indeed our communications training staff, particularly given that this is a highly competitive recruiting market across the GTA. Additionally, we have streamlined our internal processes with regards to the handling of incoming 911 calls, which has helped reduce call wait times. And I know that, you know, we oftentimes hear stories about lengthy delays on 911 calls. I'm happy to report that we're trending to the positive in terms of our 911 answer times. And in fact, 45% of all 911 calls are answered within 15 seconds. Additionally to that, 37% are answered within 20 seconds. So, you know, if we look at the majority of calls that are coming into our communication center, they're being handled and immediately dispatched to our people on the road. Subject to any questions you have, that's my update.
Thank you so much. First of all, thank you so much to you, Rob, for your service. And I know it's officially in uniform last day, so thank you for all the work you've done. Thank you, Mark, for the great update that you provided and the teams that did all the work behind. And Deputy Debat, thank you so much for your update today as well. I'm going to actually be turning it over to Chair Unica, and then I will be giving
And
it
I'll
up.
come right back to you, Madam
Yeah.
Chair, but two things. I would be remiss, first of all, congratulations to all the deputies on the Governor General's Award. That is remarkable. But I would be remiss if I also didn't acknowledge Rob Scheer and his tremendous duty and service to this organization. I will just say this, I've been at this 35 years, Rob. I now have the privilege of working with 9,500 employees. The one word that describes you, you are the most dignified human being I have ever worked with. In a word, the most dignified human being. So I could go on, but I'm just going to leave it at that because the impression you've had on me, this organization, the service, the manner in which you've carried yourself with great dignity, and it will be missed. More to come, but it will be missed. So I did want to say that. And with that, Madam Chair, if I can make a suggestion through to the chair, I know we have a deputant waiting, but in fairness to the deputant, I don't want to quickly hear them, and then we've got to be downstairs in 6 minutes for the announcements from them. Perhaps I could suggest through the chair if you'd accept a recess at this time, barring anything else, and then we can start with the deputant and we'll give them our full attention in that matter. So I would suggest if we would perhaps recess at this moment to get to the announcement.
Yes, that's not a problem. I just wanted to, I know that Al Boughton just wanted to say a few words, and then we'll go ahead and do that.
And through you, Chair, Rob, what an honor it's been, and what the chairman, new chair, has said times two. On the 911, it would be very useful if we could, and I don't know how we can do it, or you can do it, PRP can do it, is to continue to get the message out that if you call 911, don't hang up. And, you know, I'm out in a social setting or business setting and it comes up because they know I'm on the board and they talk about wait times and people are hanging up. It would be really useful if we could continue to pound that message out so that people who are, you know, desperate, you know, and people who are calling 911 are panicked a little bit. And if there's somebody isn't there immediately, they hang up and dial again, hang up and dial again. So if we could continue to get that message out, I think that would be very useful for the public. And again, congratulations. What a great career. And it's been an honor to work with you.
Thank you, Mr. Al Boughton. And again, thank you so much. Did you want to add a few words?
No, thank you to both. That means a lot to me. And that's a great takeaway, Mr. Boughton. I'll ensure that that gets programmed into our future engagements.
Just wanted to add, actually, Mayor Brown also had put up his hand and said kudos to all the words that were shared. So I think you can see we have a lot of respect for you, and you've been truly remarkable. So with that, we stand in recess until after the provincial announcement, at which time we will reconvene. Thank you, everyone. All right, thank you, everybody, and we'll now reconvene. So we are now at the section of board members' questions and announcements. So I had a couple that I'm going to kick it off with this morning. First announcement, yesterday was the regimental funeral for RCMP officer Harvinder Singh Dhami. His brother, Constable Gurvinder Singh Dhami, is a member of PRP. We send our deepest condolences to the officer, Dhami's family, and I'd like to actually turn it over to the chief for a few words as well.
Thank you, Chair, for acknowledging. As you know, it's been in the last 8 months, I think, and nationally, we've not seen this many line of duty deaths for officers nationally. And this one obviously not only is a relative of one of our own members, but it affects our entire Punjabi community and our local community nonetheless. And so we do know that the funeral was yesterday, but there will be a ceremony on Sunday here in Brampton. The the family would be, willing to open that to the public, of course, at the Brampton Crematorium on Sunday at 1 to 3. And at the Ontario Culture de Bar, there will be obviously a ceremony afterwards. We at Peel Police will be ensuring that we continue to honor that, and we thank you for the board's acknowledgement.
Thank you, Chief. Moving on, I'd like to wish everybody celebrating today a very happy Eid Mubarak to you and your families, and may this festive month be one of prosperity for you. In addition, we marked the end of the Sikh Heritage Month, and it was also happy Vaisakhi to everybody. I think we're still celebrating Vaisakhi as well, so happy Vaisakhi. And I also know there were several other large festivals and celebrations this month for just India overall. So just everybody who's celebrating from the South Asian community, my best wishes, and on behalf of the board as well. Another great announcement, I'd like to recognize our board member, Al Boughton, who's been elected to the board of the Ontario Association of Police Services board. And so congratulations, Al. Serve as well. Thank you. And finally, the last announcement, I wanted to actually recognize a wonderful event that happened, actually, I would say over a month ago now, a little bit longer, but I wanted to take the minute to recognize that it gives me immense pleasure to speak about the International Women's Day and the wonderful event that took place on March 8th, hosted by the Women's ISN, to recognize and celebrate the amazing women, both sworn and civilian, who work at the Peel Regional Police. The event saw over 100 women in attendance at the event, enjoying delicious food, exciting door prizes, and energetic music played by our very own DJ, Fernando Anderson from 21 Division. So very talented police force we have. It was a great way to celebrate the achievements of women and to embrace the power of women's solidarity. The keynote speaker, of course, was Sandeep Sandhu, the VP of Information and Cybersecurity Unit at Rogers Communication. She shared her inspiring leadership journey and how she has become a trailblazer for other women in cybersecurity sector. So thank you to Sandeep Sandhu for being there. As we look back at the International Women's Day event, we are reminded of the importance of networking and supporting each other to create a world where all women have the opportunity to thrive. I was very proud to participate in supporting International Women's Day at Peel Police, and we are all reminded that we all have a role to play in promoting gender equity and creating a more just and equitable world for all. I know we can all agree the board is proud to support events like these and encourage everyone to continue to work towards a better tomorrow for all women. I also note that Superintendent Don Orr is here today, acting for Deputy Milenovich today. Perhaps I could ask Superintendent Orr to share just a few highlights of other achievements by women at Peel Police, especially her own career in tactical operations.
Good morning, and thank you. And through you, Chair, it is embarrassing to talk about yourself. So I'll just give you a little history about the Women's Internal Support Network at Peel Police. So it was established in 2021, and it's currently championed by Inspector Jody Dawson, who's actually here in the audience, and Inspector Shelley Thompson. And really the mission for that Women's Internal Support Network is to unite the women of Peel Regional Police and provide them with a space to come together and to talk about topical issues that affect women in the law enforcement environment, providing them with opportunities for leadership, for growth, for mentorship, and for development in their career. So events like the one you talk about, they have been organizing over the past year and have many events organized in the future. You know, it is important for mentorship in Peel Regional Police. I mentioned Shelley Thompson. She is currently a inspector in charge of intelligence services, which has historically been, exclusively males within that unit, and to have a female role model to lead them is important. I'm currently, as you mentioned, in charge of our Emergency Support Operations Center, or operations, and housed within that is in our Tactical Rescue Unit. So that area, we have only seen in Peel's history 2 women achieve a position on that unit. So I'm actually proud to say that today, as of today, that we'll be adding a second female to that unit. She has just completed 4 months of intensive training and selection process, and that's a first in the history for us to have 2 currently serving members of our tactical unit, which is very special, near and dear to me that has happened. I'd probably need to fact check this, but I believe probably in the province, we may be the only service or one of the only services that has 2 currently serving females. So it's very important membership within our organization to, we have so many strong women, both sworn and civilian, in many areas of our organization that have accomplished great things. And to help young officers coming into this job with so many opportunities and helping them in their path to achieve their goals is extremely important. So the Women's Internal Support Network is got great things planned for the coming year, Mud Girl Run, some things to get women together and inspire and uplift and hold each other so that we can accomplish everything. I'd like to think in a couple of years, saying there's 2 women in the tactical unit is not news, because it just is. So that's essentially where we're going with our internal support network. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I'm proud to support the Women's ISN. I might skip the mud run, but I would definitely support it. If I wanted to just turn it over to if there's any other board members with any announcements. Good. Okay, moving on to approval of the minutes of the board meeting held Friday, March 24th. I'd like a approver, Al Boughton, a seconder. Perfect. All approved. Moving on. Next, deputations. So this is just a deputation today is received by Mr. Alim Natu on the topic of street racing and speeding concerns in Rockwood Village neighborhood located in Mississauga. Mr. Natu, if you wanted to come. Perfect. Just right here in the center.
Hello, everyone.
Perfect. So, Mr. Nath, if you wanted to have a seat, and I just want to remind you, you have 5 minutes, and I'll give you a 1-minute kind of warning before the end. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Again, my name is Alim Nathu. I live in Mississauga. I've been here since October 2021. Before that, I used to live in Toronto. I just wanted to mention that when it comes to the street racing, there was an incident on February 26th. It was around approximately 11:27 p.m. that I placed a call to Peel Regional Police to advise of 2 cars that were racing at an excessive speed, and that was at the intersection of Burnhamthorpe and Pony Trail. Now, what happened in that case was I got off my bus. I was coming home from Scatterbush, which is one of my favorite restaurants here in Mississauga, and all of a sudden I had the green light and I was going to cross the road, and these 2 cars, one car started to slow down, but then I realized that the tires were burning rubber. So I said to myself, I'm not going to cross that street in case if they were to come in, run that red light, which they actually did. So for my own safety, I just waited on the sidewalk, because had I not done that, I would have been run over. And when I called Peel Regional Police, I advised them of the situation. I spoke to a dispatcher. The dispatcher was more like stern, but to the point, professional. However, she did advise me to contact Toronto Police because they were heading into Toronto. I didn't even catch the plate number for these 2 vehicles that were committing this traffic offense. But what I can tell you is when I called Toronto Police, they did ask me if I was okay, if I needed any help. The one thing I did want to say is when it comes to the dispatchers with Peel Region, with Peel Regional Police, I think there needs to be better training on taking caller information, like the name, date of birth, phone number, and the incident, so that there is follow-up on these particular cases. Now, with the Toronto Police, they didn't follow up with me, but they did take my name, my contact information, and that was pretty much it. I think and I also think that when it comes to the communicators with Peel Regional Police, when I've spoken with them before, when I ask for a badge number, it has happened on occasion where some, like one or two of them will give an attitude if you ask for a badge number, which, you know, they are required to give one. I understand that they don't want to always give their name for security reasons. However, I do think that Peel Regional Police officers, in my opinion, should start wearing name tags instead of badge numbers, because that's the practice that's going all across the US and also most of Ontario as well. The only police services that I know that where they don't wear a name tag is Sarnia Police, Windsor Police, and Peel Regional Police. But most of the police services in Ontario, to the best of my understanding, most of them wear name tags. Like, for example, at Waterloo Regional Police, they've been wearing name tags since 1973. Now, back to this issue with the street racing, I also think there needs to be better training on how to deal with people who are on the spectrum. As I am on the autism spectrum myself, I think we need to focus on continuing that de-escalation, continuing that collaborative communication, and also making sure that all frontline officers are checking their registries to ensure that if they do attend a call, that there isn't someone on the spectrum, just in case. But at the same token, I understand that a lot of officers do have to make split-second decisions, because it is a very tough line of work. And I want to thank all of our officers, both sworn and civilian, for keeping our streets safe, especially during these very difficult times.
My apologies to interrupt. I just want to let you know you have 1 minute. Thank you.
1 minute, thank you very much. Please let me know when my time's up. So I just wanted to also say as well, in closing, that to, are you Superintendent Colley? What's your name?
Sorry, Rob Shear. Inspector Colley reports to me, though.
Oh, okay. I wanted to wish you a happy retirement. I just wanted to say that because I heard that. You know, it's, you know, I'm sure you have made some great progress here. So I just wanted to wish you a happy retirement. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to open up for any questions or comments. Chair Inika.
I didn't know if anybody from the team wanted to respond to any of that.
Yes.
First of all, I just want to acknowledge that I think all of us have families, and we all recognize the recklessness that puts you at risk when you're on the street. So we don't want to diminish that and completely understand. I think we as a team are equally as upset about the egregious behavior of drivers these days, and you know, as it pertains to the interaction with our communications department, we'll certainly take that back as well. And I think just for the board's awareness, you know, that we've been working hard, and Deputy DePat's team, from increasing our capacity to deal with people with physical or intellectual disabilities, sir. I think we've been really intentional, and probably not really as a result of the best reasons, but we've been investing, probably the only police agency in this province, if not country, investing in very specific response to autism, and increasing our capacity to deal with that. So just want to, I know this is a delegation to the board, but I just want to acknowledge and appreciate your input, sir. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I mean, I just wanted to quickly add very, very quickly that I wanted to say that I've had some good interactions with police officers from all parts of Ontario. I've lived in 6 different cities, from Sarnia, Windsor, London, Kitchener, Toronto, and Mississauga now, as well as people. However, it's good to know that, that there is some de-escalation and training being done. I have seen how wonderful a lot of people have been, even with me coming into this meeting, so want to thank you for that. I did want to also add very, very quickly that when it comes to the reckless behavior and stuff, I'm sure everybody heard yesterday there was like a stabbing incident that happened during a road rage incident. And I really think that what I think really needs to be done is more of a crackdown on, I know some people when they come to Canada and they are allowed to have a temporary driver's license for about 3 months. I read that on the drive test, that there's a lot of people that can use an international driving permit driving on our roads in Ontario. I do think that we need to ensure that people that are coming into Ontario, wherever they're from, it doesn't matter, that they are properly licensed with driving, but also I feel as though that we need to ensure that people are following the rules of the road.
Thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over to Chair Unica for comments.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I want to thank the delegate. Minor point, but sir, I really have to commend you. You acquitted yourself very well, but I didn't know you were in the audience. And when I said, can we pause the meeting so that and in my days, we used to call it the bum's rush. I didn't want to give you the bum's rush. Hurry up and do your.
Exactly, yeah.
The gentleman, as I was leaving, said, "That's me. Thank you very much." So sometimes your attempts are misunderstood. He understood, and that was very gracious of you. So, and now we can give you the time that it needs. So thank you for appreciating and understanding that. I want to follow up, though. I would like some insight on that, I understand the rationale for maybe not having badges of our officers. That makes sense. But I was intrigued to learn that might we be in the minority on that, or what the latest thinking is on that. So perhaps if somebody could give us some insight into what is the thinking about name tags for street front officers. Do we do it? We don't do it. Who really does it? What's the state of affairs there? If anybody wanted to give us some information.
Thank you, sir. And through the chair, I think, we all agree, I think we were probably the third largest municipality. And, throughout my entire career, I think we're trying to personalize what's the interaction is with the public. So, pleased to say that we are going to name tags for our people. It is one that's in the works, Marty, if I'm looking, is that correct? I don't know if any of the team, Carolyn or Mark, can speak to that.
Thank you, Chief. Yes, and through the chair, this is something that has been brought up, and we are. Our director, Mark Figueredo from Quartermaster Stores, MMC, it's feedback that we've been receiving. There was a time when we used to have our badge numbers, but clearly that's not enough to identify, particularly in the direction that we're headed. So we're working towards the logistics of what that'll look like.
Yeah, because I actually find that a badge number can be harder to forget. It's easier to forget than a name tag.
Thank you, Chair Nika. Now I turn it over to Mayor Crombie for comments.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to thank you. This was a very articulate deputation, and we don't have them very often from young people like yourself. And so I just wanted to say thanks for coming forward. This is an issue we've been struggling with, particularly during COVID. You saw the street racing and the road rage being exacerbated. Rockwood Village is just one area where we've dealt with it. Lakeshore, where I live, out on the other end, on Erin Mills and Ridgeway, they deal with it there. Westwood Malls, we've seen stunt driving, Heartland as well. So It's everywhere. And it's all over Peel. I shouldn't just, I'm giving you Mississauga examples. It's certainly even more so in Brampton. But we have a program that we're aware of it, and the chief has got all the deputies working on it. And program erase, chief, is that what we're used to deal with the street racing and the stunt driving and the revving of the engines and stuff. So we're on it. It's unfortunate, and sometimes residents call it in, and by the time the police get there, they've already, of course, evaporated.
Absolutely. I think the other thing that I could say is that I think when you have a shortage of communicators as well, like staff, that it can make it difficult to even call it through, because I remember there was one car sometime in the last week that was stuck on the road blocking a crosswalk, and I was trying to call it in to the non-emergency number, and then I could not reach them, but I was able to reach an officer in the park who was able to go and check up on it. But that's the other issue, as well as being able to get through to a communicator for non-emergency calls.
Thank you. You're quite right. This is a very good deputation and rare. And we're very, very pleased that you came forward today. Thank you very much, and happy to move it.
Thank you.
Perfect. So moved by Mayor Crombie and seconded by Nando. And actually, even now. So we've got everybody. Thank you so much, Mr. Nathu, for coming in today and taking the time to present. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And how do I turn this off?
Just press. There you go. Thank you. All right, moving to the next part of the agenda, presentations, anti-human trafficking strategy. I'd like to invite Constable Jay Brown and Mrs. Miller to provide an overview on the anti-human trafficking prevention and intervention work being done by PRP in Peel Region.
Good morning, and through the chair, while the presenters are getting set up, just a little bit of a background on the reason for the presentation. For a number of years, Peel Regional Police has been working very closely with our community partners in the anti-human trafficking space. We recognize that those surviving their traffickers need coordinated services to support their housing, legal, counseling, and other services to mitigate against returning to their traffickers. Much of the initiatives by this collaborative has led to strategies that are aligned with the Region of Peel's anti-human trafficking strategy, as well as the provincial anti-human trafficking strategy. The Federal Committee on the Status of Women is currently traveling across the country to study best practices and programs that support anti-human trafficking. I'm pleased to share with the board that Peel Regional Police was selected as one of the police services to host an information session that was conducted on April the 12th. From that session, the partners from the Peel Human Trafficking Service Providers Committee presented to the Status of Women Committee, and it was very well received. On April 17th, the presenters before you provided a deputation to the House of Commons on the work that they're doing. And I'll tell you right now, this is industry-leading work. And it is truly a collaborative attached to what we're trying to achieve through community safety and well-being, and is being emulated across the country. By way of introductions, Jody Miller is a managing director of EFRI Hope and Help for Women. Jody has worked for EFRI for over 20 years and is responsible for overseeing gender-responsive programs and services for females identifying individuals both in the community and within the criminal justice system. Jody is devoted to addressing barriers and marginalization faced by women and girls, and much of her work has focused on ensuring a gender-responsive and trauma-informed approach to the treatment needs of self-identifying women and girls. Constable Joy Brown has been a member of the Peel Regional Police Service since 1987, and she's currently assigned to the Community Mobilization Bureau. Community Mobilization works with community partners to provide services to individuals, families, and communities that are at risk. She works directly with victims and survivors of human trafficking. Joy is currently the chair of the Peel Human Trafficking Service Providers Committee. And I'll tell you right now, the partners don't want Joy to ever retire. That's how valued she is in this space. With that, I'll turn the mic over to the presenters for their presentation.
Thank you, Deputy. Good morning, Chair and members of the Police Services Board. Thank you for the opportunity to present on human trafficking. In keeping with the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan, our strategy focuses on 4 areas of intervention. Under the area of incident response, a collaboration with Timea's Cause, we recently announced all PRP frontline and investigative officers will undergo specialized survivor-led training to better identify human trafficking and, most importantly, to help victims. We are the first police agency in Canada to do this. You will be seeing a preview on the next slide. We have 16 dedicated vice officers with specialized training in human trafficking investigations. We have the ability to connect victims and survivors to wraparound supports and services through Encourage, our anti-human trafficking services hub.
Under the area of risk intervention, Encourage is a multi-organization, anti-human sex trafficking integrated services hub supporting exploited and trafficked individuals in Peel. Services include comprehensive needs and risk assessments, safety planning, advocacy, coordination of immediate and specialized supports, case management, and long-term care that offers stabilization. With the introduction of the hub, we were able to increase the number of our EFRI female mobile support workers to allow the adoption of a 24/7 model. law enforcement officers, as well as community partners, are now able to access after-hours supports for victims and survivors. The Exits housing pillar of the regional strategy includes an anti-human sex trafficking safe house and transitional house. The safe house, Bonnie McPhee House, opened in April 2020, and Peel Transition House opened in May of 2021. The housing options we provide are to female identifying survivors aged 16 to 24 with short-term safe housing and longer-term transitional housing with specialized programming and support, including safety planning, individualized goal setting, and skill development supported by 24/7 on-site trauma-informed staff.
Under the area of prevention, as a result of a human trafficking conference hosted by Peel Police, the Peel Human Trafficking Service Providers Committee was formed in 2015. We have over 40 members from education, employment, legal, health, and social service sectors. The goal of the committee is to reduce victimization and to offer services to empower and support victims and survivors in rebuilding their lives. The committee facilitates a train-the-trainer for service providers who are often the first points of contact for victims and survivors. They also provide numerous presentations to the community. In 2021, the Ontario government released the Keeping Students Safe framework, the first of its kind in Canada. It sets a strong foundation for Ontario school boards to establish key partnerships in regionally tailored anti-sex trafficking protocols. School boards collaborate with community partners and police to raise awareness, provide training, support students who are at risk, and those being sex trafficked. EFRI also provides programs and workshops for schools and community partners on awareness and prevention. The programs empower youth to understand and avoid recruitment tactics, address online safety, and how to access help. EFRI has a program for young men that addresses the vital role males play in ending gender-based violence, sexual exploitation, and trafficking.
Under the area of social development, we have been working with the Region of Peel through the Peel Human Trafficking Service Providers Committee on the regional strategy and supports, such as Encourage and the safe and transitional houses. The survivor experience remains at the forefront of all of our work. Peel has made significant progress and emerged as a leader in community collaboration and in identifying and delivering appropriate services and supports to those impacted by human trafficking. Last week, Peel Police hosted a roundtable with the Standing Committee from the House of Commons on the Status of Women and partners from the Peel Human Trafficking Service Providers Committee. The Standing Committee also did tours of Encourage and the Bonnie McPhee House. In forming the task force, the Region of Peel brought together changemakers from various sectors: health, legal, social services, education, and academia. Their mandate is securing funding for the housing and hub services and championing the issue beyond Peel to advocate for replication of the strategy across Ontario.
We would now like to share a short video on the launch of PRP's survivor-led anti-human trafficking training.
Human trafficking is a real problem in our community, and this is why we're tackling this issue head-on. We are committed to new and innovative solutions, the need for collaborative responses to traditional matters through the work that we're demonstrating today.
Survivors who can't be here today and victims that are still victimized today will greatly benefit from every single effort that you guys are making. So thank you so much, and thank you for bringing our voice here today.
This next slide showcases the benefits of PRPs in the Region of Peel's anti-human trafficking strategies. Both use a multi-sectoral approach, provide assistance in navigating complex systems, use a survivor-centered and trauma-informed lens, create and collect reliable data, focus on risk and prevention, and ensure a regional response to high-risk situations. Some of our current initiatives and updates include, since 2015, Peel Police have received funding through the Victim Fund Grant to directly support victims and survivors of human trafficking. In collaboration with the GTAA, PRP, along with community partners, participated in a campaign, Not in My City. Materials were posted in the arrival and departure terminals at the airport to create awareness for victims and the public to identify possible signs of human trafficking and where to turn for help. Online training and awareness material was developed with the input of PRP through the Trucking Federation of Canada to educate members of the trucking industry on signs of human trafficking and to increase their confidence in reporting suspected incidents.
We have formed a subcommittee through the Peel Human Trafficking Service Providers Committee specific to international students. Indus Community Services, as well as Sheridan College, sit on this subcommittee. We have been providing presentations and reaching out to international students to educate them on human trafficking. On June 24th, 2022, the Region of Peel announced permanent funding for Encourage, the Anti-Human Trafficking Services Hub, and the Safe and Transitional Houses. These are the recommendations made through our deputation to the House of Commons Standing Committee on the Status of Women earlier this week. We welcome any questions that you may have. Thank you.
First of all, I want to say thank you for this presentation and these updates. And I hopefully will keep seeing more and more of this to create awareness of all the work that's going on at PRP. And thank you to both of you for all the work that you do. Yes, so I just wanted to take feedback and comments, and then I'll end that with, so Mayor Crombie, I believe you're first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Deputy DePatt and I went for a ride around, I guess we call it, and he pointed out a number of local hotel motels, and he showed me the signs of which ones could be identified as being used for human trafficking. He said, it's most, you probably don't even remember this, but it's what you said, you know, you look for, if there's not a lobby and you don't have to walk through the front door and go through the hallway, if you can access the room from the back, those are the ones we suspect, right? Because less visibility, it can be more hidden. If you don't have to walk in and register and, you know, get on the elevator, walk down the aisle. So those are the ones they check the license plates of regularly. But it was shocking, I think Chief and I had this conversation as well, to learn how difficult it is to get the victims out. And the outreach that's done to them, and sometimes they call and you retrieve them, but sometimes, you know, they return back. And I think I was told a story of there's even chips placed in them to locate them should they go, you know, rogue and go to the police or run away. And it's terribly disheartening to hear these stories of these victims where, you know, they've reached out and asked for help, and yet somehow find their way back, and there just wasn't those supports or to keep them strong and keep them out, you know. And there's a whole other issue on how they're kind of enticed into this to begin with. So this is something that I'm quite passionate about. It happens in every neighborhood, you know. I saw a profile on a young woman in Oakville, a very affluent family in Oakville, that was trafficked because obviously fell in with the wrong men. And it's just heartbreaking as a mother to think about this happening. But it, you know, it happens to the boys as well. I shouldn't say that, but so the young men and women that this has happened to. So I'm here to be very supportive, and anything I can do to continue to advocate and ask for additional funding or strategies with different levels of government, please count on me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Crombie. Chair Anika.
Thank you. Well done to the team, but I wanted send out a real shout out to the Parliamentary Committee on the Status of Women, because I know they met with the force, the service, and the team at noon. They met with me at 4 o'clock that day, and I was honored to meet with them and our team at Peel Region. And they had come from out of town that morning. They were with you, then they were with me, and I said, "Can I get you folks sandwiches or something?" No, we're on our way up Northern Ontario. So boy, they take their work seriously. We had a marvelous couple of hours with them and learned a great deal, and I hope they took something away. Further to the mayor's comments, of course, what came up is, the airport. It's the hub, and we're the center of the universe in Canada, and there's the international airport, so that's one. The other unique vulnerability is when you have newer Canadians, students, for example, on student visas, you don't know what normal is. You haven't got a family support system. The other point that was made, and not just on this file, but so many, in so many other countries, when we're in peril, I think we can all call the police service and say we expect support. In a lot of other countries, men showing up in uniforms usually doesn't end well for you. And that's all they know. So they go, I'll call these. I went, oh gosh, that doesn't go well where I'm from. So what a unique set of challenges and problems. And to conclude, while I'm delighted to give them accolades for the work they do, the Parliamentary Committee on the Status of Women, I don't want to speak, I think they were impressed, if I can use that word, with what we are doing here through the Peel Regional Police, the service, and the region of Peel. So a long way to go, but we're on the right track. So kudos to everybody involved that we're on the right track. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Unica. And just to add to that, actually, even also, we were in a couple of meetings where we were discussing this topic. It is very, very relevant to Peel Region. It is, with the large population of international students that we welcome into Peel Region, it is affecting them as well. And that is not the journey we want to give any international student coming to the region of Peel to start their, next phase in life. So I want to say thank you to all the hard work you were doing. I know that Councilor Brown, you were in the meeting as well, and we talked about Ankara as well in there, and many other organizations that are supporting this. But I do want to say thank you for being here. I know the federal and provincial funding is critical for this to keep moving, and we thank them. And of course, like Chair Unica said, Mayor Crombie said, anything we can do to advocate, to help, we're all here for this, because this really matters to all of us. So thank you so much. If there's no other comments, I'd like to close this one. Chief, did you want to?
Just to wrap up their
Yes, please.
presentation, I just want to thank Jody and Fry for being such an amazing partner at the table. We've got a long-standing relationship with you. And Joy, thank you tremendously for the work. I think for the boards, just to put a fine point on it, first of all, we know it's not a solution that just the police can solve. This is a perfect example of when you look back at the slide that had all the variable service delivery options to mitigate this issue is really quite remarkable. And the fact that it is now nationally a leading model is one which we should all be very proud of. I want to thank you for delegating to the federal government too. The recommendations on this last slide not only affect us and improve us, but it's actually powerful for this entire country. So thank you for leading that work, and it's the right thing for our community, but it's an amazing model that could impact other municipalities. So I just want to thank them for that.
Thank you. So just to receive this deputation, thank you. Thank you. All right, moving ahead to the next topic. Before we move to the next section, I wanted to just turn it over to you, Chief, because I believe you want to clarify something.
Through the chair and Chair Unica, I just got some additional information from our team as it pertains to the name tag issue. Is that we're obviously a large organization, and that's lots of different uniforms to get out to. So just for clarity, we're discussing it and working on it. We will, just for clarity, we call number one dress will all go to name tags, and internal administrative functions will go to name tags. The uniform, the frontline patrol one, it's a bigger machine to tackle, so it's for further discussion with our team. Just want to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief, for clarifying that. Okay, moving on to new business. So consent motion. Items number 4 to 7 are considered to be routine and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member requests it, in which case the items will be removed from the consent motion and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda under the oath new business. With that, I ask if anyone wants to remove anything from the consent. Just going to take 1 minute.
I remember I had a question. On the external funding piece, Chief, does this represent an increase, decrease from previous years? And is there any new allocations that we hadn't received previously?
Carrie Lynn, would you be able to help me with that, please? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Through the chair. Mayor Crombie, in regards to this report, one of the things that we discussed at our Finance Committee meeting was in the way that we're reporting the funding that's received here. So as it stands today in this report, the funding level is approximately the same as it was last year. But what we were doing was we were reporting based on a cash basis, meaning when we actually received the funding.
Okay.
So there was a lot of timing differences in relation to, like, depending on when the province issued funding. So for example, in 2022, the funding number should have been larger, but there was some delays in payments for the court security and prisoner transportation grant specifically. Right. So while the report actually says nearly $21 million, there was some delay in funding in relation to some of the programs, so it should have actually been a higher number. Right. So we made the decision at the committee that we will change the reporting of this so that it actually reflects the funding that we have actually contracts receive. For. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Cities know all about that. Is this common that there are these delays and the funding isn't received?
There typically isn't. I think there were some delays in relation to COVID and whatnot, and some of the, like, for example, the court security, that grant particularly, in getting it executed and the funding allocation amounts, because that one is on an annual basis. So that one was a bit delayed, but overall we have seen an increase in the amount of grant funding that we're receiving.
Well, that's very good news. So this is kind of the base funding we receive that we count on for our programming each and every year, correct?
That's correct. But there are a number of other initiatives. Like, for example, the Community Safety and Policing Grant, we did actually receive an additional $1.5 million for the 3-year term each year. So we are seeing, thanks to the work of our government relations team, we are seeing increases in our grant funding.
And are there increases that merit the index price, CPI index, the inflation index each year? I mean, our costs increase, so we're falling further behind if the funding doesn't match.
Unfortunately, we haven't seen increases in regards to that. Some of the other programs that are listed in this report, specifically that are like our secondments, those we are billing actual costs for. So those we will receive increases based on our salaries and whatnot. But as far as items like the community safety and policing and the court security, those ones are set for the 3-year term.
Okay, well, I guess we have to keep up the pressure on the government relations side and thank them for the funding, but, advise that we are falling farther behind each year if the funding doesn't keep up. And to get it in a timely way when it's needed is important as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Crombie. Board Member Al Bowden.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, Mayor Crombie, at our Finance Committee meeting, which was 2 weeks ago, last Thursday, I believe, the manner in which these grants were done, and if we compared it to private business, if you invoice a customer and you haven't been paid yet, the revenue is still reported. And what's had been happening is the revenue wasn't counted until it was received. So the Finance Committee met and said, when the funding is approved, even if the money isn't in the bank yet, that it will be deemed as being received that year, even though the cash isn't in the bank. So it really was, Madam Mayor, a tweak in the way that we accounted for it, as opposed to what the number is, and that was approved 2 weeks ago. So it was just really an accounting procedure, and we'll carry on with that this year and in future years.
Thank you so much. So I guess seeing as there is none, can I have a mover to receive items 4 to 7? Thank you. Thank you. Perfect. Moving, all in favor, approved. Moving to other new business. 2022 police pursuits, fourth quarter report dated February 7, 2023 from Deputy Chief Mark Andrews, Community Policing Operations Command, providing the board with the fourth quarter police pursuit statistics. Chief, I wanted to turn it over to you for any feedback.
Thank you, Chief. Through the chair, this is a routine quarterly report. The only highlight from the report is that we continue to see a year-over-year decline of pursuits and a decline in non-compliance. Subject to any questions.
And just for the board's awareness, one of the big things, as you know, as the province moved to, the vehicle pursuits are for a variety of different reasons, and it's a fine balance of public safety and the need to stop somebody. Some of the tools that we are provided may aid in identifying vehicles and drivers. So the technology aspect is a very powerful one, including some of the license plate readers and video technology that, through the Innovation Technology Command will all help us, we're hoping, reduce the amount of risk that these type of incidents have. So we don't take it lightly. We know it's a provincial requirement to report on it, and we're, I just wanted to top that up.
Move receipt.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Perfect. Moving to our next item, 2022 Corporate Risk Management Annual Report. Report dated April 11, 2023 from Chief Nishturiappa, providing the board with annual corporate risk management report. Chief.
Thank you, Chair. And through the Chair, we'll have General Counsel Sharon Wilmot speak to this.
Good morning. Thank you. Through the chair, this is the annual report that we submit that just covers civilian oversight investigations into officer conduct. So it covers SIU matters, which, as you know, we report on in more detail through the Section 11 process. It's an aggregate sort of report just summarizing our numbers. Also formal police disciplinary matters that go to the tribunal that are considered more serious. Those are summarized in here as well. And then the public complaints. I'm happy to answer any questions if there's specific questions. The one note that I would point out, which is I think a good news story, is that you'll see under the SIU investigations, you'll see a significant decline in this year. Obviously, we can't say exactly why, but I think you'll see that it's gone down significantly, both in investigations, but also in the amount of designations that they've issued for our officers. One of the reasons we would like to keep an eye on to see is that we think that this may be as a result of body-worn camera being used and being able to review very quickly to understand an incident prior to having to conduct a full investigation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Sharon, for that update. I guess moving, can I get approval? Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This brings us to the end of the public meeting. We will adjourn for a few minutes and return in camera. Meeting is now adjourned. Thank you so much.